I've had so many different introductions before, but that is by far the most colorful. I loved that. And I bet my face is still pretty colorful too from all that. So I'm going to admit to this, I do not find myself to be all that smart. We've heard some really cool stuff, and I have a lot to learn. What I'm going to talk to you about is not necessarily what I would consider to be an innovative project deliverable. It was a website, but it's the process that I offer you, and so that to me is of interest. I want to make sure that you understand what we're trying to do in this diversity course, because I was tasked to teach that last fall, and my first thought, my first reaction was one of both excitement and fear for a diversity course, because I'll be honest with you, and some of you may agree, there's some landmines there. And I want to make sure I did it well. And so I have an acronym resource for you to share. I also want to talk about the story logistics and the assignment that we did collectively as a group. That was a theme from the presentations yesterday and today. And then I also want to talk about some basic conceptual assessment metrics and conversations that we had that I think were important for this class. So first of all, the reference. We grounded this course in an acronym called SQAMP. And it is an acronym. It comes from academic literature. And I did, by the way, put my presentation in Google Slides. It's tweeted at you. So you're welcome to look, because there is, in fact, a link that I'll show you here in just a second. And I give you this one reference because I have evidence that the students actually read it. And so it might be useful. And what this does is it breaks down the categories of diversity by demographic categorization on orientation, religion, race, physical mental ability, gender, and socioeconomic status. And the categories to the left are the population subgroups that typically receive the most aggregate sociocultural privilege. That's the theory, that's the conversation, that's the acronym. And there are others, and so some of you may be able to fill in the gaps there. Education, citizenship status, might be some other ones. So what we did was we took the class and we took every Friday. We only met once a week. This is a 1 credit, 200 level course. But what I did is I had them submit examples of good media coverage in each one of those categories. We took a day for orientation. We took a day for race, a day for religion. I wish we would have had more time. This is a conversation that should go on more than 1 credit hour, in my humble opinion. But what we did have were 27 students enrolled in this course, and we did have the idea that we wanted to build relationship and build understanding in the community in terms of audience analysis. And so when I talked with my students, at the very beginning, I went into class and I just told them, a 3-word phrase that terrifies, I think, most educators. I don't know. I don't know what I want to do with this class. I don't know what I want to do with you. So help me, help you. Vulnerable moment there. There are other terrifying phrases I'm sure you know of. There's no money. Yet another meeting, something like that maybe. But the point is that I wanted them to identify stories about people in our community. And I wanted them to do it in a kind of a reverse SQAMP. I wanted them to highlight stories about people who were not straight, who are not Christian, and that was the purpose behind our website. And so what we were looking for was this model of something that was a reverse SQAMP, something that would create a website full of multimedia content, and we rebranded it Middletown 2.0, and again, that link is there so you'll be able to view the website, because I just have some screenshots of it. We branded it Middletown 2.0. The 2.0 comes from this. This was the original sociological study that was done in my hometown, Muncie, Indiana. Muncie, Indiana is 85% white, and that is consistent with the state. And we also have a median income of $29,000. We also have 1 out of 5 adults who do not have a high school education. So there are many stories, and both of those, I might add, are below the state average. But this original sociological study was done in the late 1920s, and it was about Muncie identified as Middletown, America, Middletown, USA. And it reads like an ethnography. I did not have them read this, but I did ask them to look into some videos that were produced about this. Problem is, this is Middletown White, USA from the 1920s. So the 2.0, as I mentioned, was this reverse SQAMP website. And we were having conversations about analytics because, in my humble opinion, the output is important to understand eventually. Remember, this is a 1 credit, 200 level course. I wanted them to understand more the concepts of analytics. What's our objective? Because you can have the output, you can have the little EKG heart rating thing showing clicks and all that stuff. You can have the rates of engagement, but what does that mean? What does that mean? It means nothing unless you know what it is you're looking for. So for us, kind of a low bar, but we wanted just new visitors to our eventual website. That's what we were looking for. That was our goal. And so our website opens like this, and then you have the categories of the reverse SQAMP. So we labeled it as the original framework identified, but all the stories, when you clicked on it, would show up as the students produced them. Now, I will tell you, this is not perfect. There's a couple things I would change if we were to go back, but again, this was student-generated, and I had student leaders helping me with the technology. That's one thing that you ought to think about, too. You don't have to do all the work. You shouldn't do all the work. Have some of the students get involved. We did it in Wix, and not because that was my choice. That's where they were most familiar, in this group. Again, may not be the best place to house all this, but that's what we did. I think the font size could be bigger on some of these stories. I would have liked to have seen more video. They wanted to do pictures, and so it's kind of a negotiation that we went through, but I wanted certain things, and that's the thing. You don't relinquish control. You give them choices, structured choices. Let them choose. Let them get invested a little bit more in that. And then at the end, one thing that I insisted for our contributors tab, I wanted all the students to answer the question about recognition of diversity. What does it mean to them in the community? And so I had certain students identifying, what that means to them. Why is it important? Because I think it's important to acknowledge that this generation does, in fact, value diversity. And they are willing to do work if it's deemed meaningful, if it's purposeful. And so I have my rubric. I'd be happy to share that with you, but I'm going to breeze right past that. We did have conferences. We have, obviously, this one. We also had our annual diversity symposium at Ball State, Accept This, and I just got word, BEA. We're going to be presenting there, too, in April in Las Vegas. So, again, it's not really an innovative project, but it's the process that it seems like people have drawn into. How do you teach diversity? And how do you bring in conversations about analytics with these students? What exactly are impressions? What are engagements? Okay, so you have a rate of engagement of 2.0. Is that good, bad? How do you know? And so having those conversations are kind of important. And my key takeaway for you, because again, we're educators, we teach, we learn more, and we share. So have the students buy in. I think you'll be much more successful in a diversity course, or at least I was, having their input, having some conversation with them at the beginning of the class. Students want and will do work that they deem meaningful. They will do it. They will do it, as evidenced by what I just showed you. Have student leaders. Also have students look into presentation venues. Have them do some of this work, so that they feel like their work is going to go someplace. Maybe have someone adopt the website that you create so it's housed elsewhere. Keep the text simple, focusing on the content. That's a throwback to the VR session yesterday. Just because you have the technology doesn't mean you have to use it. Focus on the content, and then on analytics to help reach our goal and boost the number of new visitors. We did a group share. Everyone brought their tablets, mobile, their laptops, and we talked about strategies for sharing. Are you actually tweeting at individuals? Ideally, the storytellers featured in our website. Are you using emoticons? That was to Joy's point that you just mentioned. Where'd you go? I don't know, but over here, yeah. The point about pictures. What about emoticons? There's literature showing that emoji actually is boosting that engagement. Using that, and it's for the same reason. It's emotion, but it's virtual. So why not use that? What about sharing? Are you tagging people in your sharing instead of just retweeting it, putting it out there? That's not going to help you. So I think something like this could be useful. The process of teaching a diversity course with 27 students, only 1 credit. Some of you may have more time, and if you do, you might be able to create even more content. And so I have my information up there. Please let me know if you have any questions. Thank you.